what is going on in Delaware right now in regards to multi-level marketing. I'm going to do my best to explain what's going on. The summary of this is that there's a bill that's been passed and it's going to like move to the Senate now. And the Direct Selling Association, the DSA, is having a meltdown.
It's Dave Grimaldi in the Delaware State House. The anti-MLM bill that we have been talking so much about just passed the Delaware House of Representatives behind that door. It passed on a vote of 27-11, but again, we saw this coming, and the arguments against the bill were forceful and well articulated, and we'll be amplifying those. The bill now, in a timeline that is unclear, will go to the Delaware State Senate in this chamber, and DSA is going to be active, more active than ever, but we need your voice. We need your voices and we need your stories, because at full strength, this channel can do anything. Stay in touch with all of us at DSA. We'll be pushing out messaging and updates and on to the state Senate here in Delaware.
So the DSA, it's this trade organization. This is big pyramid. Multi-level marketing pyramid schemes have a lobby group, and they go and they lobby elected officials. I've made content on this. A lot of other anti-MLM content creators have made content on this as well. So they're paid by these MLMs to go and lobby the government. They want to be protected. They don't want to be regulated. They just want to keep getting away with running fraud. But the DSA has run into a roadblock, this obstacle that they're unable to get around because they've been fighting what's going on in Delaware, and they perceive what's going on in Delaware as an unprecedented threat. They're not doing their jobs very well. And what I think is so ironic about this is, so you have these MLMs that are paying the wages of these people who work at the DSA to lobby the government. And what does the DSA? The only thing they can do is turn it back on these multi-level marketing companies and say, can you send emails out to all your sales force, all these victims of pyramid schemes, and get them to fill out these pre-made templates, these emails, and they'll just send out automatically. We have it all set up for you. It's this big campaign. We've got to like stand up for our industry. They're trying to get the participants, the victims in the scams, to do their own work for them. They were the DSA was, it seemed to me, the feeling I got, they were pretty confident that they were going to defeat this bill in Delaware, but they didn't defeat it. And they're panicking. So as I'm explaining this, I'm probably going to make a lot of mistakes. I don't have a clue about how bills pass, legislative stuff. I know it's shocking, but I'm going to do my best, and I'm going to put all the links to the things that I'm mentioning here, so you can go and look at the bill and the amendments, and then you can do your own research. I really encourage you to do your own research, and this is just me trying to do my best to explain it to people who look at something like this and you're like, no. Oddly enough, even that is more comprehensible than any multi-level marketing company's compensation plan. Okay, so where does this all start? So Representative Melanie Ross-Levin has introduced this bill, HB 162, House Bill 162. So then they have people that show up, actually physically show up in Delaware. The DSA shows up. I think they even managed to get some guy from Amway, an independent business owner. Can you imagine? This is so embarrassing. I feel embarrassed for them. And then they also had people like Doug Brooks and William Keep that, either sent a letter or did a testimony on Zoom or whatever to give their input. Now, I am going to be reading you William Keep's letter that he wrote, which it's so good. And this is going to really help anybody who wants to learn more about multi-level marketing and give you some more resources to really sink your teeth into understanding the academic stuff that is going on, research to combat multi-level marketing, and to give you the language to start explaining MLM to others, making sense of it yourself, and then also explaining, look, this is wrong. And you have more resources to point to, so then people can start, critically thinking and realizing, oh man, MLM is fraud after all. All these people have been studying it for so long, pointing, all these things out. And the public doesn't have access to this information. I mean, did you even know about what the DSA was when you were in MLM? Who knew what the DSA was? I didn't even know that thing existed until I left, which I think it's funny because the DSA is trying so desperately to they have this inflated sense of importance And they think, oh yeah, all these people are just going to fight for us. Nobody knows who you are. When you're a brainwashed MLM participant, we're so busy doing our IPAs and our DMO, doing all this training, all this personal development, trying to create how many pieces of content each day in your stories on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, sending out all these messages, doing live videos. And then it's like, oh, now you're going to get the 4th email from your multi-level marketing company today that says, we have extended the flash sale, and now we're going to add a new product. And then don't forget this. And then they're going to send you another email that says, oh, the DSA wants you to just simply fill this out. Click this link. And it's very easy to do. It'll only take a minute of your time. I wonder why multi-level marketing is failing and the DSA is just tanking. So what happened is in a vote, I believe from about 27 to 11, this bill passed, and then it's going to go to the Senate. Now, the bill was HB 162, and then I guess they had, talks, and then it changed to something, a House amendment. It was called a House Amendment 1 or something like that. And then it went to House Bill. Okay, here it is. House Substitute number 1, and then House Amendment number 2. So I think, they did discussion about, okay, well, we don't like this. You need to change this line here. I mean, the DSA is just fighting for its life. So they made these changes, and then this final form passed, and then it's going to go to the Senate. So I'm going to read you the HS1 for HB 162 with the HA2. I love that the final thing is HA2. I just want to put a P in there to be HAP. It's like high altitude potatoes every time. So this is the document, and I'm not going to read you the whole thing. It is only 3 pages though. So if you did want to look at it yourself, you could, sit down and get through it. I look at something like this and I think, oh no, this is not what I want to do. I would rather just live react to videos from different multi-level marketing companies. It's a lot more fun, but this is important. And I wish this information had been available to me when I left, to just know what I had been in. Okay, so this is the House Substitute number 1 for House Bill number 162. Now, there might be a few changes in here because it doesn't include the House Amendment number 2 in this document that I'm going to read, but we're going to go for it anyway. If I make any mistakes, I probably will. Please feel free to correct me in the comments. Okay, so what they want, what is this bill? Why is the DSA panicking so much? What does this bill entail? Do you think it's going to be these wild demands? What could it possibly be that's just going to throw the whole multi-level marketing industry into a tailspin? Well, here we go. So they want that if you sign up for a business opportunity, you sign up for an MLM, that you're going to be given a sheet. You're going to be given this document, and the first page only contains the following language: disclosure required by Delaware law, and you have the right to cancel this contract for any reason within 3 months of signing it. And then the name of the seller, the name under which the seller is doing or intends to do business, and the name of any parent or affiliated company that will engage in a business transaction with the purchaser or accept responsibility for a multi-level marketing program. Well, that sounds legit. What's to be upset there? Let's keep going. A complete description of the compensation plan, including any inventory purchase requirements. Oh, I can see why they might be getting a little testy about that. A full and detailed description of the actual service the seller will undertake to perform for the purchaser. I like that too. A full and detailed description. Are you going to be posting on social media every day? I wonder how clear that they have to be with this, and how much ambiguity, how much wiggle room they have. Imagine if they start spelling out, well, you need to, it depends on how much, how serious you take this business. They're going to have to spell out the work that you're supposed to do to participate. I think that's really good. Can you imagine if they write it out, all the work that we've done if you've been in multi-level marketing? You're like, what? I don't think so. Next one, when the seller makes any statement concerning earnings or range of earnings that may be made through the multi-level marketing program, the statement, quote, no guarantee of earnings or range of earnings can be made, end quote. So that's interesting too. They have to make that statement. Anytime there's any kind of how much money that you can make. I remember when I signed up with Mon8, I was told I can help you make your money back within the first month if you do what I say. But they didn't say no guarantee of earning or range of earnings can be made. Making multi-level marketing company, holding them accountable. Next one, if training is promised by the seller, a complete description of the training and the length of the training. That's close to one of my favorite points in this, because the training in multi-level marketing never ends. There is no end date. It's constantly personal development. They need to keep you training, keep you thinking that there's something wrong with you, that if you just keep training and you're going to overcome your limiting beliefs and stop self-sabotage, and then you're going to recruit that rock star and rocket up to the top of your MLM pyramid scheme. Well, how long is this training supposed to last? No wonder they're scared about this. Next one, if the seller promises services to be performed in connection with the placement of the equipment, product, or supplies at a location where they will be sold or used, the full nature of those services, as well as the nature of the agreements to be made with the owner or manager of the location where the purchaser's equipment, product, or supplies will be placed. I know that was number 7, whatever. Number 7 and number 8 made my eyes roll back in my head, and not in the good way. So I'm just going to skip them. I don't really understand them. I encourage you to go look at them. Number 9, how many other purchasers are selling in the state? Ooh, because market saturation doesn't exist because a lot of people, they just don't work their business. Isn't this interesting that they have to disclose that when you sign up? This is so good. Number 10, the percentage of buyers who earn more than the initial payment and all inventory purchase requirements. 11, the median and typical earnings of every person involved in the program. Wow, look at that. Not average. Okay, a multi-level marketing, I'm just going to say an MLM, may not require a participant. You can't buy a good or a service unless the MLM agrees to repurchase the goods in the same form of payment as originally purchased that are in resaleable condition. An MLM must state in writing in each contract of participation in its MLM program all of the following. And again, there might be some alterations in this with that HA with HAP, with high altitude potatoes too. I'm not sure, but this is the main gist of it. A participant may cancel the contract for any reason within 3 months after the date of entering into the contract or the receipt of goods or services first ordered by notice to the MLM company. Notice may be sent by email or first class mail. So you can cancel for any reason within 3 months. Wow. You know what I think is funny there? Is because so many MLMs, they have that fast start period. Mon8, it was smart start, and it's like 3 months. They've got these scams dialed down where you can maximize a lot of your bonuses in 3 months. Not a lot of people, but some people do. Enough people do that it gives them this inflated sense of success and long-term success that it's this, oh, I made all this money in the first 3 months, and then all those bonuses, they just die. They're just gone. But then you're in. It just took enough for you to get in, you know, the love bombing, your love of the products, you have some perceived success in the first 3 months, and then it goes. How interesting would it be is if within that 3 months, you can cancel at some point, anti-MLM content reaches you, or you're trying to work on these bonuses and it hits you that this isn't sustainable. After this 3-month period, there's going to be no more incentives like this to falsely inflate what I can typically earn. On cancellation, the MLM will repurchase the goods in the same form of payment as originally purchased. The repurchase price will be at least 90% of the original price paid by the participant. Any person who suffers damage or injury as a result of a violation of this section has a cause of action to recover 3 times the amount of actual damages, court costs, and reasonable attorney's fees. Such treble damages shall be in addition to any other damages to which the victim is entitled pursuant to common law or other provisions of the Delaware Code. Wow, treble. Treble is my new favorite word for today. Now I'm going to read Bill Keep's letter. And I'm not going to read it all the way through and comment. I am going to pause and just add some commentary as I go along, because I feel like some of it can be a lot of information for people that are leaving multi-level marketing. They're wanting to speak out, and I know what it's like when you're just trying to get a handle on this stuff. So I'm going to do my best to provide, like, to translate it to ex-MLM Hun speak. And I hope I do a good enough job. This might be enough on its own where you read it, you're like, you really didn't have to do any of that, Julie. But I feel like I need to, because I know when I was reading this, I'm like, what exactly does that mean? So I'm anticipating that there's going to be other people that come across it that might feel the same way. But on the whole, it's so well written. Anybody can understand this. It's like, oh, this is so good. I've got this. You can use this information. And who is Bill Keep? You might be thinking, I've heard this name before. Well, who is this guy? Introducing, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. William W. Keep, PhD, Professor of Marketing Emeritus and former Dean of Business, the College of New Jersey. He's behind Multi-Level Marketing, the Consumer Protection Challenge, that conference. I spoke at that conference last year. So that's who this is. Okay, here is the letter. Dear Representative Ross Levin, the Direct Selling Association, DSA, has more often than not shown a remarkably poor memory, and their undated document entitled, quote, Delaware HB 162, a well-intentioned bill that would harm the very people it seeks to protect, end quote, continues that tradition. Below, I will fill in some of the missing information. The DSA document articulates 8 topic areas, A through H. I will address them in order. I guess the DSA must have, written something, submitted it to try to cancel this HB 162. A1. In fact, HB 162 is completely consistent with, quote, modern compliance practices, end quote. Government regulations are the primary driver for industry compliance policies and practices. That is not to dismiss the augmented value of industry rules and guidelines. I will not bother to list the many consumer products and services subject to federal regulations, but in the course of a consumer's day, she will perhaps go shopping for food, do some banking, see a doctor, or shop for a new car. All of these will provide important information that results from regulatory requirements. Example, nutrition labeling, financial disclosures, etc., for her decision-making. The information flow travels through the channel to protect consumers and make economic decisions more, not less efficient. The DSA appears to not know or chooses to ignore compliance practices in general. 2, the DSA does not refute the premise that economically vulnerable individuals are targeted by this industry, a sad tacit admission. Instead, the DSA chooses to defend these targeted individuals against a fictitious insult it finds in HB 162. By definition, economically vulnerable individuals have fewer economic choices. That's what makes them vulnerable. HB 162 is not questioning the capacity of these individuals to make choices, but rather their readiness to listen to the misleading messages prevalent in the MLM, direct selling industry, and the hope they may find a path toward greater economic stability. I believe what he's referring to there, because I've made a number of pieces of content on this, really short ones. I've linked those below for you too, so you can check them out. Is that they're saying you can't call these multi-level marketing participants victims. How dare you? It's like you're disempowering them. That's what I think, that's the tack they were trying to take. So stupid. And it says, what a sad tacit admission, by not refuting that economically vulnerable people are being targeted. No, instead of refuting that, like, yeah, we're targeting the vulnerable. Don't you call them victims? How dare you? Can you strike through that, section A, subsection B? Okay, 3. This will be addressed below, but simply put, HB 162 does not need to assume, quote, that direct selling companies often present exaggerated income claims, end quote, as the supporting evidence is plentiful. 4. This too will be addressed below, but the presence of a buyback program neither ensures that victims will recoup recent losses, nor that they will be compensated for losses previously incurred. The Direct Selling Association is correct in noting that HB 162 fails to recognize the DSSRC as a, quote, credible independent system of consumer protection, end quote, because it is not. More on this below. This is hilarious. So I know that little sentence might be your eyes are like marbles and they're just shaking around your head. Like, blah, blah, blah. What is the DSSRC? The DSSRC is this self-regulatory body. So just imagine the DSA, this is big pyramid. All they do is they're like, we represent fraud. Look at how big and important we are. Hey man, I used to participate in ACN and now we're under unprecedented threat. Let me, take a picture on the stairs of some legislative building and talk about how important I am. And the only people that are impressed by me are multi-level marketing CEOs that continue to give me money. So that organization, the DSA, were like, oh, I know what we'll do. We'll create this committee, this organization that's going to regulate us. And guess what they always find 100% of the time? That all the companies are just great. Oh, sure, there's a few of those nasty little participants in MLM that are just making these wild claims. But, we'll make a report each year and we'll be saying, oh, well, we removed this one. The company's operating in good faith. Nothing happens. Big surprise. The DSSRC is a joke. The DSA is a joke. MLM is a joke. So that's what that is. It's funny. It says the DSA is correct in noting that the bill, it doesn't recognize the DSSRC as a credible independent system of consumer protection. It's not credible. It's not independent. It's this cancerous outgrowth of the DSA. Just this bulbous tumor that's, oh yeah, we regulate the Direct Selling Association. Oh, who's like your parent company or whatever? Oh, we're with the DSA. I mean, big surprise. It's not credible. It's stupid. It's actually incredible. B1, the DSA correctly notes that Dr. Taylor's research is based on data some years back. Setting aside Dr. Taylor's research, the available evidence from MLM companies provides outcomes that are very similar. The DSA's claimed concern for MLM prospects to make informed choices runs contrary to the industry's own words and data. Below, I share my own analysis of Herbalife and Nu Skin data and FTC findings. What he's referring to here is Dr. Taylor. That's John M. Taylor, the MLM income disclosure versus statements, whatever, that Appendix 7E, MLM income and profit loss rates, that one. That's the one that shows that you're more likely to make money in a classic no product pyramid scheme than in an MLM. This is the one where we're citing 99% of people must lose money. So this was a comment that was published on the Federal Trade Commission website. So this is what you often hear. So the research that he's done. So the DSA is like, well, this was done a number of years ago. Therefore, it's completely out of date. It doesn't mean anything. Now it's by their own income disclosure statements. And just having two brain cells, that MLM is fraud. Oh, it's an endless chain recruitment scheme. You can get financial freedom if you just keep at it long enough. Totally legit. But William Keat has done his own research. So here's some updated research. So this is what he's gonna cover now. Herbalife, based on 2015 data, fewer than 20% of distributors qualified for earnings. And of those, 95% earned on average $627.55 per year. The approximate equivalent of working 1.7 hours per week at the federal minimum wage of $7.25 per hour. I cannot update my analysis as Herbalife now releases less, not more, information regarding distributor earnings. This income is before deducting expenditures on required purchases and other expenses. Well, ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gents, we can arm ourselves with some new data when we make our YouTube videos and any kind of anti-MLM content. How's that 1.7 hours a week working out for you at the minimum wage? And that income that you're earning is before expenses. Look at that. So that's based on 2015 data. And the reason why he can't update it is because Herbalife isn't even offering that information. It's offering less information. How interesting. But there's more. Nu Skin. My analysis of Nu Skin's 2022 earnings data showed average monthly compensation to all active distributors to be $160.05. However, 94% of active distributors received average monthly compensation of $6.17. In other words, 94% received an amount equal to 4% of the average. Required purchases to be eligible for earnings and modest expenses put 94% of active distributors in a financial loss position. So this is when you can see you have an academic who is deciphering the purposefully deceiving compensation plan. You know, where they're like, well, what we describe as an active participant. And of that, 65% of them earn 32% of the 4%, that kind of nonsense. So this, he just pulls it apart and explains it very well. 94% of active distributors received average monthly compensation of $6.17. Nu Skin, another dinosaur MLM fraud, $6 chuck. Next one. In 2024, the FTC report on multi-level marketing income disclosures, an analysis of company-generated data found the, quote, vast majority received $1,000 or less per year. That is, less than $84 per month on average. In a letter to the DSSRC, Miss Lois Griesman, Associate Director, Division of Marketing Practices, FTC, recalls a conversation with Adolfo Franco, DSA Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer at the DSA September 2023 Legal and Regulatory Seminar. In that conversation, Ms. Griesman learned that the DSA's often used phrase, quote, modest or supplemental income, end quote, means, quote, $1,200 per year, end quote. That is $100 per month or $25 per week. Deducting for amounts spent on required purchases and marketing related expenses means that perhaps Dr. Taylor's analysis may not be too far off the mark. Now, this was a big paragraph, and many people might be like, oh, I understand it. This is totally fine. And maybe me explaining this again is going to be a bit too much. So I apologize, but I feel like I should just kind of expand on this a bit, because anytime there's a lot of letters like DSSRC, I know for me anyway, when I was leaving an MLM, it really was confusing. So it just helped to hear it kind of again in slightly different language. So last year, 2024, the FTC did do this report, and I made a video on this, and it was like a vertical video. I shot it, posted on Instagram, and it was one of those ones that I just posted here too. And I mean, like, the information was good, but I took issue with it because it was so like they redacted company names. It was so stupid, like the way that they redacted it. It looked like, this top secret government document. I mean, you can't even name the companies that are on this. It was very easy for me to just like figure out what companies they were referring to. And I didn't like it. Like it really rubbed me the wrong way that they redacted the names of this thing. But that's what this report was about. And they did find, the vast majority received $1,000 or less per year. That is $84 per month on average. Okay. Now in a letter, I've made videos on this. I know Always Marco has referenced this, that DSSRC, that cancerous bulbous growth on the side of the DSA. She wrote a letter to them, and she had asked Adolfo. Now, I had made a video about Adolfo. Adolfo is that guy. So in those secret Zoom meetings where they're like plotting and planning against all the anti-MLM haters out there, and they're so scared, and they just gaslight everybody. It's just so weird. Adolfo was the guy that has no picture behind him. That's that guy. And asked him, what do you mean, like modest or supplemental income? That's the guy. He's the one that said, well, it's $25 a week. Well, it's $1,200 a year, So that's a bit more information about that. Okay. 2, here without missing a beat, the DSA changes topics. It purports to show satisfaction, not actual income. Can you imagine? We're not going to show you income. Everybody's just so happy and grateful and appreciative. And they're writing in their gratitude journal every day that they're so happy to be part of this incredible life-changing industry. They show satisfaction and not actual income. We do not have the actual survey, or most importantly, the pool of subjects surveyed. And most importantly, we do not know if former MLM distributors were included in the pool. However, we do have other information. For example, a study by Delaware, Bosley, and Shadell, published in an academic journal and subject to blind review, found high participant turnover. Quote, 26% reported participating for less than 6 months, while 48% and 70% reported participating for less than 1 year and less than 2 years, respectively, end quote. And that, quote, a minority of respondents indicated a willingness to join the same or another MLM given current information, end quote. So I guess the DSA had some nonsense survey. Oh, who did they send it out to? This was probably another email blast that they sent out to all their multi-level marketing companies, who in turn were instructed by the DSA, because they can't do their job. They want to get the MLMs that are paying their salaries to do their job for them, and then to send yet another email out to all of their victims and say, how happy are you with this? It was probably people responding that are at the top of these scams. They're like, they get a call. Hey, oh my God, can you imagine it's that guy from Olive Tree People? He's like, hi girl. Hi girl, the vibes or the frequency of the olive tree just told me something. I need to get you to do something. Can you? And they're going to, like, these people at the top of these scams that still are like not aware of what they're in. They feel so chosen when they're contacted by the owner, the CEO of these companies. They will do anything for them. So I can see the survey happening like that. This is just my guess. This is my speculation. I don't know. Because I remember when I was in MLM, I didn't do any of this stuff and had no clue what the DSA was. If my upline or somebody that I really respect, like my respected in the company, told me to do something, I would. That's the only way. So I can see, like, who would respond to this survey. It would just be really, oh yeah, I love it so much. And then they use this, the satisfaction of brainwashed participants. It's compelling evidence. Have no idea why this bill passed with a whopping 27 to 11 votes. Man, I hope this thing goes through the Senate. But the DSA is, like they said, they're going to unleash their fury in the Senate. Go ride a horse, not a cowboy, I guess there. Okay. 3, here the DSA leaves the reader in the dark in multiple ways by stating, quote, 2 in 5 direct sellers earn under $10,000 annually, end quote, and, quote, nearly half report spending $100 or less per month on their business, end quote. The reader could get the impression that A, 2 in 5 distributors have significant part-time income after expenses, and B, that 3 in 5 potentially do better. No publicly available data supports either erroneous conclusion. All available public information, including company earnings statements, the FTC report on multi-level marketing income disclosures, and research by Delaware, Bosley, and Shadell, show the vast majority of MLM participants end with a financial loss. Even the DSA's own vice president and chief operating officer, referenced above, considers the actual supplemental income earned to be approximately $1,200 per year before expenses. See, even when the DSA cites these statistics, they always have to do this word salad rigmarole, purposefully being confused. They can't answer a straight question, because if they do, it's just the fraud is revealed. I mean, even in their attempt to try to, like, hide the fraud, you can just see how desperate and how stupid it is. Look at this. 2 in 5 direct sellers earn under $10,000 annually. Of course, because they know that the implication, 3 in 5 are earning more, which means it's like they do that on purpose. And Bill just is like, no, that's not what this means. That's the impression that you're trying to give. Okay, C, 1 to 7. These sections provide a litany of pro-DSSRC statements contrary to all available data. In 2017, truthinadvertising.org, TINA, conducted independent research on false earnings claims. It found, quote, more than 97% of companies on the November 29th, 2017 Direct Selling Association membership list have made or are making, either directly or through their participants, false and unsubstantiated income claims to promote the company's business opportunity, end quote. truthandadvertising.org. This is a website. If you have any questions about multi-level marketing, type in tina.org. They have probably already done extensive research. It is so well put together. You could make anti-MLM content and just use that as your resource. They've done all the research for you. You're familiar with behindmlm.com. You're like, I send people to that site all the time. Is this a multi-level marketing company? Have you heard anything about this? I'm typing the name of that company and Behind MLM, go there. An article has probably already been published. Truthandadvertising.org is the same. It's an excellent resource. And they have a map there that you can click on and file reports too. It's such a good website. And a lot of people don't know about this. Okay, in 2019, the DSA partnered with the Better Business Bureau to create the DSSRC. This was mind-blowing to me. I didn't realize that the DSSRC, like that cancerous bulbous growth, only started in 2019. I thought it had been around for years. See, I only exited at the end of 2021. So it's interesting to me why they felt the need to, maybe the anti-MLM movement was already, getting so much momentum and getting louder that they felt like they had to create something. So you think of how long Amway's been around? So for decades. And it was only in 2019 they created this stupid little organization, be like, oh yeah, we're really doing things. We have meetings and we write these reports and we do a pie chart. And then we also collect money from MLMs. And we find that every MLM really has the consumer's best interest at heart. So it was only created in 2019. In 2024, TINA again conducted research on earnings claims. It found misleading claims among one, quote, every MLM company that holds a seat on the DSA board of directors, end quote. 2, quote, 100% of DSA's current 24 top selling members, end quote. 3, quote, the 15 companies that won 26 DSA awards between 2018 and 2022, end quote. And 4, quote, MLMs that received a warning letter from the FTC during the COVID pandemic, end quote. Needless to say, the DSA's selective reference to TINA's work in Section G excludes these findings. Thus, 5 years after the formation of the DSSRC, misleading earnings claims persisted among DSA members. Okay, I'm going to explain this one to you as well. So truthandadvertising.org in 2017 did a whole bunch of research on a whole bunch of MLM companies. And lo and behold, what did they find? That they're all lying. All these people are making misleading earnings claims. So they do another research last year, 2024. I made a video on this. Always Marco made a video on this. And they found misleading income claims. Now it lists what are the companies that made misleading income claims, and wouldn't you know it, it's all of the companies that are on their board of directors. So they're saying they're so ethical, that we're doing everything right. And what do they have? All of the companies on the DSA board of directors, all of those are making misleading income claims. Then it's 100% of the DSA's current 24 top selling members. This is just damning. 15 companies that won 26 DSA awards from 2018 to 2022, and MLMs that received a warning letter from the FTC during COVID. All of them. That was just last year. This study from last year from Truth in Advertising. Unbelievable, eh? D, 1 to 3. Dr. Japp, a member of the DSEF Academic Advising Committee and known industry supporter, reports that DSA member companies are, quote, significantly more compliant than non-members, end quote. This result is not surprising nor particularly relevant and actually supports the need for HB 162. TINA's research shows the harmful behavior of DSA member firms and their representatives. DSA members are only a small fraction of all MLM companies in the United States. Thus, reducing consumer harm requires a regulatory approach that applies to all firms in the industry. Now, before I read what Dr. Japp has to say, it references a member of the DSEF Academic Advising Committee. And you're probably like, oh, no, not another series of letters. What is this thing? Oh, yeah, this is yet another cancerous, bulbous, tumorous growth on the bloated, decaying, disgusting body of multi-level marketing. This thing is where you see university professors, college professors, academic advisors are in this thing, and they're promoting MLMs on their campuses. Vector marketing, Cutco. Professors are in this, and they're like, oh, this is a really legitimate business opportunity, you guys.
I think, not only even in university, and obviously that's my background, my experience is advising and counseling students at the university level, but I think even out of high school today that students, they tend to have the wrong perspective about what summer employment is all about. I think they tend to think about, it's a great opportunity to, make a bit of money to be able to afford to go back to school, or it's about something else. But in actual fact, if a student is in university, they only have 4 years to differentiate and distinguish themselves from other students. And I think one of the biggest mistakes that they make is that they focus on income as opposed to opportunity. And the summer work experience should be an opportunity for the student to build a CV or build a resume in such a way that it sets them up for the career that they ultimately want to have. So you want to look for employment opportunities where you are addressing your shortcomings. So if you are not very confident, if you're not very outgoing, you want to find a summer employment opportunity that pushes you a little bit, that gets you out of your comfort zone and engages you with other people. So if your soft skills, your people skills are not as strong as they could be, then you want to look for sales types of jobs, whether it's a retail job or whether it's something like, Vector offers with its summer employment opportunities where you actually have to get out and meet people. I think that that's a big mistake that students make, is that they fail to appreciate that building a resume will be the only thing on graduation day that separates you. Everyone will have a similar degree, and probably the 500 to 600 students in your program graduating have the exact same degree and the same piece of paper. It's the other things that really matter most. And obviously for somebody who's going to employ you, it's your work experience. And so, what have you got? And I think how you position your work experience is very important. For example, one of the things we look for when we're looking at students for our graduate programs is, do they have progressive work experience? So some of our students can actually enter their graduate programs earlier than other students because over the 4 summers or over the time of their university degree, that they've had continuously unique and building experience. They may have been a salesperson, an assistant manager, they might have run an office, they might have done a number of different things like that. And that shows to employers that they can handle more work and handle more responsibility, but that they're aggressive, that they're interested in growing opportunities, that they're willing to seize an opportunity. And it shows that they have been successful in their previous job. It's hard to say that when you worked in the same retail job for 4 years in a row, and that's all that you ever did, that your boss was rewarding you with anything maybe more than a little bit more money. Whereas if you've got progressive work experience, you've shown that you can handle responsibility and you want more responsibility. It makes sense that the future employer is going to look at that very favorably. Obviously it matters that whether you were able to work effectively in a team. Do you have some way to actually be able to relay to your future employer that you've worked in a team setting? Playing team sports is great, but did you actually function in a corporation or an organization in a team type of setting? And even better, can you show that you led that team, that you have played a role in leading that team? Because most interviews today are about behavioral interviews. Tell me a situation when you overcame adversity. Tell me a time when you did something unique and you contributed in an effective way. How did you make that organization better? And again, if you just collected a paycheck, it's pretty hard to be able to say that you did that. At the same time, working in the summer for 4 months is a great time for you to figure out what you really do like, to be able to try new occupations, new careers, to be able to explore new opportunities that you may have never thought of pursuing. For example, is your primary interest in getting a job, or would you like to own your own business or run your own business? Have you done anything that allows you to gain some experience in that regard? Everything from running your own landscaping company to working in a direct selling company. What have you done that gives you some insight into what it's like to actually own and operate your own business? And I think that, again, students look at solely the work experience. They like to work where their friends work, and there's nothing wrong with wanting to work where your friends work. The question is that going to help you long term? Your friends are probably not going to choose the same career that you do. Wouldn't it be great to make some friends in that same area that you're interested in? And who knows, you meet some people in the summer working with them, they have the same entrepreneurial mindset, and you may go on as a group to start your own company afterwards. So it seems like a lot of pressure that you have to make enough money to go back to school. But at the same time, really what we're talking about is the 40 years that come after this summer that you're going to be preparing yourself for, not the 4 months that you're currently in. So I would advise students to think a little bit more deeply about their work experience. What will their CV look like at the end? Because at the end of your 4-year undergraduate degree, or at the end of, as you're approaching the college or you're approaching the university to apply for, it really is, how are you different from everyone else rather than how you are identical to everyone else that's going to matter most to your long-term career. So, think wisely, have fun, but at the same time, think about what your future career is going to be like.
Oh yeah, you should look into whatever university you might be attending, or maybe you graduated from, and see if one of these professors are in the DSEF. It's shocking. They're actually promoting multi-level marketing. So they have this academic thing. So not only do they have the DSSRC, but then they've got this DSEF. This is filled with people in universities, in schools, teaching that MLM is totally legit, you guys. It's totally up to you. Meanwhile, you've got Adolfo saying, oh, you're making $25 a week. That's totally legit. What's the problem here? And the DSSRC is like, oh, this person said you can make $10,000 a month and the sky's the limit. It's okay. It's all right. And then you have these academics, these professors at various universities that are on the DSEF, and they're teaching students that this is okay. I wonder if they're using, like, they're teaching about ammo. Actually, I think Hannah Alonso made a video about Mary Kay. Mary Kay was being taught, referenced in one of the books. I'm pretty sure. Let me know if that was it. Shout out to Hannah Alonso. Hannah is amazing. Hannah is the GOAT. Okay. I further note Dr. Japp's view of the MLM recruiting process. Quoting Dr. Japp from an article in the Direct Selling Journal, quote, okay, before I read this, I need to prepare you. You're not even going to believe what he has to say. It's hilarious. You're like, how in the hell did he even say this? It's like literally describing the predatory behavior that we employ when we're in multi-level marketing. He just says it like it's totally fine. This is the creepiest, strangest quote. And okay, I had to prepare you. The most successful sellers start with a practice we call, quote, hunting, end quote, which is scouring the internet. They will follow certain people on Facebook or on Instagram, and they will try to relate and become a friend of those individuals. Or they might do hashtags, search on LinkedIn, and look for keywords. The practice of hunting is trying to find people who either have a common problem or are interested in issues that you are interested in as well. The key to being successful selling online is managing what I call micro interactions. Hunting, casting, and creating curiosity and funneling customers into that closed Facebook group where the sales can really happen, end quote. Okay, describing how we are offering fake friendship and exploiting anything that we might have in common, or if we don't even have anything in common, you're looking hashtag cancer patient. Oh, look at my Enagic water ionizer can cure cancer. He's describing this. This is what we do. It's actually not genuine connection. It's hunting. It is. Everybody is prey because it's predatory. It's unbelievable that he just says it like this. Okay. It seems that the DSA and Dr. Japp prefer prospects to be in controlled environments where they can be subjected to unverifiable asymmetric information and high-pressure sales tactics with no required waiting time. The DSA will no doubt point to the modest initial investment. Research by DeLiema, Bosley, and Shadell, quote, 26% reported participating for less than 6 months, while 48% and 70% reported participating for less than 1 year and less than 2 years, end quote, indicate that over many months, the total spent amounts to many thousands of dollars with required purchases, expenses, and little or no income earned. I forgot to mention about the funneling into a group. How many of us have been in multi-level marketing where you're like, John Melton, ATM. Oh, we invented ATM. It's so completely revolutionary. Add, take, mention, create a group, add the prospect in there that you've hunted, pretended to have a micro interaction with, that it's genuine. And then you tag them in the post at Julie Anderson. Oh, this is going to heal this for you. Oh, this is going to grow your hair back. Mention, like, it's that, whatever, however it works. But you're getting people into this private group. How many private groups I've infiltrated, as well as other anti-MLM content creators, where you see all the shady shit that is going on there. They're making incredible income claims and health claims. They just know that this is going on and they just don't care. Can you imagine this is your professor and you're just looking at him saying this stuff and you're like, how is this reality right now? Okay, in a 2022 UC Davis Business Law Journal article, Patton notes, quote, policies and procedures that were crafted to guide the DSSRC, measures that have effectively hamstrung the council's work because of issues concerning transparency, accountability, and sanctions. These defects, when combined with the industry's historic hollow commitment to self-regulation, have to date rendered the DSSRC ineffective in practice, end quote. So what this is saying is that the policies that were created by the bulbous cancerous growth on the DSA, it's like it's hampering, but this to me, it's like it's giving way too much credit to this tumor because it's just fraud regulating fraud. I mean, it's not going to be like, oh, the policies are preventing it from actually doing its job. It can't. It needs to be, a third party. It can't be attached to it. If you are in charge of investigating yourself, guess what? You find yourself completely innocent 100% of the time. So stupid. So that's that. That's my interpretation of this. Ms. Griesman, referenced above, concludes her 2024 letter to the DSSRC. Quote, "The concerns I have mentioned here represent only a few of the multiple thorny issues that the DSSRC's guidance on IDSs, that's income disclosure statements, simply fails to address. FTC staff is concerned that the DSSRC's guidance will encourage deceptive conduct and facilitate deceptive earnings claims and will result in consumer harm." And she says it, and it's right. That's exactly it. See, after listening to this video, you're going to confidently be able to use the word DSSRC, FTC, DSA, and IDS. No problem. You can bamboozle MLM participants faster than they can try to bamboozle you, except yours isn't going to be bamboozlement. It's not going to be deceptive. It's going to be rooted in fact. And I mean, it does sound pretty cool when you're like, oh yeah, the DSSRC, like you actually know what you're talking about. Okay. E1. The DSA provides no evidence that, quote, education empowers companies, end quote. And the numbers belie even the notion. Well-established MLM companies received FTC warnings during the pandemic regarding misleading product and earnings claims. Why? Were these well-established companies not empowered to do the right thing and avoid misleading statements? TINA's research before and after the creation of the DSSRC shows no measurable improvement. And as noted above, the FTC remains, quote, concerned, end quote, that DSSRC guidance, quote, will encourage deceptive conduct, end quote. In short, the DSA has no support for this claim, nor can it explain why award-winning DSA members Vima and Advocare gave up the MLM model when faced with FTC enforcement actions. Well, Vima and Advocare were pyramid schemes. So I think what usually happens is that the FTC or like a state attorney general will say, all right, you're operating as a pyramid scheme, so you either got to like fight us or we're going to investigate you, or you like stop being an MLM. That's it. Or you pull out of our state and you can only sell products. You can't offer the business opportunity anymore. So that's when you see like a company like Paparazzi suddenly in the state of Washington. Why can't they recruit people anymore? Oh. Now, if only it spreads to all of the world, right? All over the US and then all over Canada. Canada has to be next, please, for the love of God. And they quote, so they were award-winning DSA members. See, Bill is ruthless and cutthroat and so precise, it's so good just the way he like puts that in that one sentence. Referencing how, the DSA, we're so ethical. We have all these incredible, our companies are ethical. It's just the bad actors out there. And he points out that those two companies that were award-winning, the DSA were like, there's nothing wrong with these companies. And yet, guess what happened with Vima and Advocare? Pyramid scheme. Truth hurts. Okay, 2. Here, too, the DSA makes an unsupported claim contrary to statements by its own members. For example, in a 2023 report to the Securities and Exchange Commission, that's the SEC, Herbalife stated, quote, "We cannot ensure that our members will comply with applicable legal requirements or our policies and procedures, or that such marketing materials or other member practices comply with applicable laws, rules, and regulations," end quote. Can you imagine they actually said that? Herbalife. So the SEC, they have to make a report 2 years ago, 2023, to the SEC, and they're like, well, we can't ensure that anybody that signs up for our pyramid scheme is going to comply with any laws or they're not going to make all these ridiculous claims. They actually put that in the report to the SEC. Oh, what's happened? I guess nothing, because they're still chugging along. Oh my God. Okay, F, 1 to 3. I refer here to my above comments and supporting evidence regarding the ineffectiveness of the DSSRC. For many years, the DSA claimed to provide effective industry self-regulation. In fact, it was not effective. So in 2019, the DSA partnered with the Better Business Bureau to create the DSSRC, and it too is not effective. The DSSRC has neither the power nor the clarity of intent to bring meaningful change. Specific to DSA statements about earnings claims and DSSRC guidance, the DSA is fully aware that no rule or regulation requires distributor earnings disclosures. Because if there's no rule, then why do you have to do it? We're totally ethical and legitimate, you guys. If earnings claims are, quote, essential, end quote, why do leading MLM companies continue to provide earnings data, if they provide them at all, that are indecipherable as to the probability of success and the degree to which a tiny fraction of distributors secure an overwhelming percent of distributor earnings year after year? For example, the new skin data referenced above showed that 0.6%, that is 0.006 of all distributors, earned 75% of all distributor earnings, while 97% of all distributors received a total of 3.7% of all earnings. See, here's some statistics for you. Many of these top earners will persist year after year. To paraphrase the DSA, the failure to have required accurate, easily understood earnings information supports irresponsible growth and fails to protect MLM distributors and recruits. G1. Here, the DSA touts the DSSRC data, stating that among 2,225 posts, quote, 73% were either compliant or could be made compliant with proper disclosure, end quote. Let's unpack that. Of the 73%, what percent, quote, could be made compliant with proper disclosure, end quote? Were they ever made compliant? Once compliant, what ensures continued compliance? According to the data, 27% or 600 posts were neither compliant nor could they be made compliant. What were the sanctions? Were they from a small group of firms, or were these posts found in every firm in the data? Oh, yes. Slicing to the truth with that. 2, so what they're talking about are social media posts. You know, you see how the DSA and just multi-level marketing will just manipulate all their data to just try to make it look, oh, we're legitimate. But even the smallest amount of scrutiny, you're like, huh? It just falls apart. Okay, 2, the DSA takes issue with TINA's research, yet as noted above, it is TINA, not the DSA or DSSRC, who actively documents misleading earnings claims over years. Unlike the DSSRC, Truth in Advertising, TINA's data is not complaint-driven. For the DSA to claim that relative to TINA, the DSSRC offers a, quote, deeper, balanced review, end quote, would be laughable. But self-serving, ineffective self-regulation that serves to facilitate consumer harm is not funny. So see now, right apart in this point in the video, you're all ready to determine, you don't have to know the names of the people involved in these things, but you know truthinadvertising.org is TINA. You know the DSSRC is the bulbous cancerous growth, and the DSA is big pyramid. You now can be like the DSA, the DSSRC, the FTC, TINA. You know this stuff. It's making sense. And now you can start telling other people about this. You could start talking to your friend or your family member who has been approached to be recruited into one of these scams and give them this information. Nobody in MLM knows this stuff. A few might. Most people don't have a clue about any of this. H, 1 to 7. Finally, the DSA hopes to convince legislators that HB 162 is unneeded because it does not target only bad actors. It focuses on structure rather than behavior. It punishes honest entrepreneurs. It is redundant to existing laws. It covers good actors too. It is inconsistent with sponsor intent, and good people will pay the price. Every industry has the potential for good and bad actors. Would the DSA have us forego regulations regarding toxic wastes, automobile safety, financial and investment services, food safety, and any number of industries where the actions of a few bad actors cause harm? The DSA simply misrepresents the history of industry regulations. Whether protecting consumers from tainted food, unsafe toys, unsavory investment advisors, or untruthful car salesmen, the history of industry regulation is one focused on both structure and behavior. I will provide just one example. Over a multi-year period, employees of Wells Fargo Bank were guilty of creating 1.5 million new accounts and issued 600,000 new credit cards to existing customers without their knowledge. Over 5,000 employees lost their jobs. However, an investigation showed that employees were incentivized to create the accounts and issue the cards, and the CEO and board knew of these actions. These behaviors were the result of the structure and reward system. The DSA intentionally ignores the unavoidable connection between structure and behavior. Will good people pay a price for regulation? Sure. Cars cost more because they have seatbelts and airbags. Drivers who go a lifetime without an accident paid for those safety features but did not use them. And the net outcome has been life-saving. Given the documented evidence, research, and even MLM company data, the MLM industry has had and continues to have an uncontrolled problem of misleading MLM recruits and distributors. The net impact is to create profits for the MLM company and funnel millions and millions of dollars to a tiny fraction of top distributors. The DSA and member companies appear to be very afraid of any transparency that might alter that outcome. Why? Because of their deep concern for consumer protection? Or because they want to remain free to channel large profits to a tiny minority of distributors, while concomitantly causing substantial consumer harm among the citizens of Delaware? I urge you to pass this bill and encourage you to reconsider dropping the required waiting period. Delaware has the opportunity to be a lead state in reducing consumer harm created by this industry. With regards, William Keep. And concomitantly is also another incredible word. There you go. Now you're more informed about what's going on in Delaware with this HB 162. You learned a whole bunch of letters, new acronyms. You know what they stand for. You have a better handle and like visual on this, what the DSA or the DSSRC thinks is modest or supplemental income, a whopping $25 a week before expenses. And you also have some more information here about research that has been done by truthandadvertising.org, by the FTC just last year, 2024. You can go and look up all this information, and then you can be armed when you start making content about this. Or if you're just like, no, I don't want anything to do with this, but I'm interested in this topic. Got it? THANKYOU, and I will see you in the next video. I want to say a big thank you to Bill Keep for giving me permission to share this letter and read it out, and for all the work, the advocacy that you do. There's so much stuff that people in multi-level marketing, as they're exiting, they don't know. So I just wanted to say thank you so much.